The first game to ever exist probably was made by some small team with only their own intentions and ideas in mind. Not did bind by the shackles of this mortal coil, permeated by need for wage, ROI, and fucking IGN reviews. So way back in the Stone Age, aka 1980s, computers were in little itty bitty teeny weeny baby mode, and a new cool kid programming language called BASIC came out. And essentially, short story, every computer had its own different programming language because CPUs are ass, and this one was essentially one of the first ones, so like every computer could use it. It was pretty cool. But this shit was so easy to write, you could write a functional game using nothing but a little fucking book and a dial-up connection. One of the earliest games I would consider an indie game is 1993 Doom. This game used something long forgotten, and that being shareware. Basically, it was pirating, but not. It was essentially like a little game demo that would be like, yeah, buy the full game, you cheap bitch. And it was really important to give people these free demos for your games, because this was the time console gaming hit its new peak after Atari fucking ruined it for everyone. So you were competing with what some people consider the greatest consoles of all time, like the N64 and PlayStation. And as an independent developer, you have to give people a little taste of how cool your stuff was to even have a chance of competing. But then, we moved to the 2000s. This is where shit really took off. A silly little thing called online distribution started, meaning it's more easy than ever to get your game in front of little gremlin gamer girls. And here's where we get the granddaddy of indie games, Cave Story. Cave Story came out in 2004 and was one of the first super successful indie titles to release, because this was a game made by one singular person, and for one person to make a game and have it do this well was massive for indie devs everywhere. And at this point, you are hard pressed to find an indie game not influenced by what Cave Story has done. And here's where I want to get into the main point about why I think indie games matter so much, is that there's a massive difference between working for a company who is putting out games and working on a passion project. Working is your main job. I mean, you gotta make a combat system, throw some numbers in there, I'm on a salary, fuck you, I'm done. But with a passion project, you want to see your own game that you spent years, if not decades, working on be the best version it can possibly be. You'll push boundaries of what you think games can be to make something you yourself are proud of. And this isn't to say that massive companies can't make good games. There's definitely people within these companies that are trying to push the boundaries, but it's a whole different headspace. It's your sole name behind something. There's a different mentality behind it that leads to really, really cool things. And having something you're working on for the sake of just working on it means you can try unusual approaches and new things without fear of it doing well financially. We've gotten so many cool game concepts from indie devs for the sole reason they thought it was cool. Whereas AAA game studios have to use things that have already been proven to work, so these massive companies can make their money back. Sometimes we get slightly new things, but rarely ever do we get anything entirely game-changing. Like how Undertale changed one of the main mechanics in RPG games. Toby Fox literally changed turn-based combat, and it was literally the same since the dawn of fucking Dungeons and Dragons. Minecraft made sandbox games, but Dwarf Fortress essentially created them. Doom made the first-person shooter actually good, and Cave Story was insane because it was made by one dude. But as MF Doom once said, all good things must end. I don't know if he said that. But you know how I said, but this shit was so easy to write, you could write a functional game using nothing but a little fucking book and a dial-up connection. Well, it's easier now. And since it's so easy and the sheer concept of it being an indie game is enough to have people try it and play it, it means so many people create the most shit tier garbage and pump it out, ruining the perception of indie games as a whole. And I'm just really hoping we get some new cool indie games and people stop making blatant fucking cash grabs. Anyway, bye.